All right, so this is a video I wanted to make about the year 2020 and all that, and it was interesting that I ended up on a page that was talking about kids in that time because I you can only imagine what it would be like to be like a sixth grader or a seventh grader or whatever during that time. I mean, versus what my life was like at that age, much better, much better. Um, and when like 2019 or so, I started to get what you might call a life. What I mean by that is I got outside more, went to places, went out to dinner with people, talked to people, went to different shops, knew people, things like that. It was, things were kind of good, and they were getting better. And then when early 2020 hit, I remember there was this day where I went on the CB radio because I used to talk to a lot of people. Well, I still do, but I would talk to people locally in my town on the radio, and I knew most of them and met most of them. And one day I heard these two guys that I knew both of them. I've met both of them, and they were saying if Bernie Sanders wins the presidency, we are going to be a communist country and we're going to hell in a handbasket. And I sort of laughed. I had to like chime in and say like, "You guys are full of it." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "America's already socialist. I mean, we have this thing called Social Security. Hello, I have to pay a whole bunch of taxes for well, half of you guys are on it." And they got mad at me saying that like, "Well, they paid into it." And I said, "Duh, that's what socialism is." And I'm not necessarily. They thought that I was against it. They're so stupid. They're Fox News type Republican people. They didn't understand anything. And so I just, turn the radio off. When that happens and people pile on, the dog pile happens on me, I just turn it off, go do something else. I started focusing on my Twitter page at the time, uh, making music and stuff. And yeah, making like remixes and things like that. And then February came, and it got really weird because this coronavirus stuff started increasing. The news, and I started seeing these videos of people who were like wiggling and falling over in the street in China, and I'm like, this can't be real. Like, this is so stupid. Who would believe this? And but it continued and continued, and then as we got closer to March and into March, I saw people wearing masks, and they were more on the right. It was funny because like it was like on the left, it was like don't fear the coronavirus, don't wear a mask, you don't need one. And Trump's racist for banning travel from China, and I even bought Chinese food just to be like, yeah, screw it, I'll buy some Chinese food, for the fun of it. And you don't need to give me an excuse for that. I love orange chicken, but not very healthy, but I love it. But anyway, so that went on for a little while. And then I started to see like people start to panic and like buy all this toilet paper and do this and do that. And so I decided to go to like I did these runs to stores and I kind of like binge bought things. And like there was this Hispanic lady, I presume she was Mexican. And she saw me like just filling up a cart full of stuff, and she said all this stuff in Spanish that I couldn't understand, and then she said coronavirus, coronavirus. Like she looked like almost like she was giving me some omen. Really weird behavior in public from people, and I was like, whoa. So I binge bought some supplies just because the reason why I did it was not because I was scared of the getting the virus. I did it because I knew everybody else was doing it. So if they're all doing it, I have to do it. Otherwise, I might go to the store and there might not be anything. That's what panic buying does. So you kind of have to engage in the panic when everybody else is. So just for self survival, it was just canned food and stuff like that. So then this day came in March where our governor came out and said, we're not going to shut down the state because it's too costly to our economy. And I said, "Oh, that's awesome! I love our governor. That's cool." And then 4 hours later, she came out looking like she was drunken on Xanax at the same time. Somebody had to literally prop her up, and she said, "Full shutdown. Everything's done." So that's it. We're shutting everything down, the whole 9 yards with the shutdowns. And she became one of the worst governors about this stuff. But just a few hours earlier, she sounded so rational. Very strange. So I was like, well, I didn't know how to think about this. I didn't. It was just blowing my mind because my whole world was being taken away from me. Um, in terms of my like professional life, it actually helped because of the stuff I do. But it just was horrible. Like every personal thing I did was just taken away, and by this like virus stuff, and all the old people around me were laughing at it. And then as the months went by and the shutdowns went by, kept going, they actually became scared because the news just kept feeding them stuff. And I didn't watch the news. So I wasn't scared. I was scared more of what society was doing. And then uh, when it first shut down, it got really weird. I really believe this is an economic event, not a. I mean, there was a virus, but there was something else going on too. Because I saw all these crazy homeless people on the street. And then you have just a few months later the George Floyd incident, and when that happened, uh, I knew there was going to be riots in Portland anyway, but they even tried to bring it down to Salem. Didn't work. The locals wouldn't have it. It just people came out with guns and just said no, no way. Uh, but they did kind of try to bring that here, and I noticed some really different people riding their bikes down my street that I'm not used to seeing. I'm used to seeing people that are like homeless or whatever, but not like this was weird. It was just different. So it was definitely a different crowd that had come down here to cause trouble, but it didn't work. They didn't get anywhere. They had like one night of rioting, and that was it. That was it. And then we get to like the mask mandate, and the day that happened, I was sitting in the car, and I was gonna go to the store, and I wanted to see if anyone was gonna go in to the store in or out without a mask, like are people really doing this? And I wanted to see like a normal human being, I wanted some kind of social proof that like somebody like safety in numbers, right? So I sat there, and I didn't see anybody for a long time go into the store. So I said, well, screw it. I'll be the first. So I walked in with no mask, and the minute I got up to the door, there were like 5 to 10 Hispanic dudes following me with no mask. It was hilarious. Like they needed me to do it. Like everybody was waiting for someone to do it. And I decided, well, it's going to be me. And then that was fine. That went on for a couple weeks, but then people started wearing masks, and I started getting kicked out of places for not wearing a mask. They did this polite thing where they'd say, "We'll sell you a mask for $1," and I just like, I don't know how many cameras I'm on flipping them off. Like I said, no, I'm never shopping here again. Screw you. There's one store I still go to, but for the most part, I told them all to go to what. So that was 2020, and then of course I'm not even going to talk about what happened with the magical injection thing because I saw more than I can even talk about. It was so scary what I saw with people. Not going to talk about that in this video. Let's just say it was. I was near a place where they did a lot of that, and it didn't look very pretty. And obviously, you can tell by who you're listening to that I didn't do that. But anyway, I thought I would talk about that and just give you, or I wanted to make it 10 minutes, so just keep it there because it's hard enough to listen to a 5-minute video. So that was my 2020 experience. It was very strange, and I still haven't recovered from it. So I don't know what else to say because, that's what happened, and I'm not over it. And the people that did that to us need to like answer for it. So there.